Hi, this is Christopher Harris from the School Library System at the Genesee Valley Educational Partnership.
And I'm Brian Mayer, also from the School Library System, and we're here today to talk to you about Wits and Wagers, a fantastic game that is going to be available to you as part of National Gaming Day at your library.
Wits and Wagers is a party game for interaction in larger groups of people put out by North Star Games. And this is one of the games from the collection, as Brian mentioned, that will come to National Gaming Day at your library, of course, Saturday, November 14th. So we're going to tell you a little bit about the game, what comes in the box, how you play the game, and the value that we see in this for school and public libraries so that you're all set to play this on Saturday, November 14th.
Wits and Wagers is a game for people about 10 and up. You can play for up to 21 people in groups and teams. It takes just a couple of minutes to teach, and it plays very quickly in about a half an hour. So now when you open up the box, you're going to get a lot of things inside the box. You have the instructions book, which has some very nice, easy to go through instructions that is very effective in walking you through the game.
Now, Brian, I have to tell people on the instruction book, the first time I saw this instruction book lying around the table, I actually threw it away, and Brian had to rescue it from the garbage because there is no cover to the instruction book in this edition of Wits and Wagers. It has what looks to be an advertising type cover. I thought it was just a catalog insert in the game, and I threw it away. So be careful that you don't throw away the instruction book because that will come in handy later on.
If you do happen to throw it away, though, you should be able to get a copy of them online as well from the company or from Board Game Geek. So, what else is inside the box? You have a timer for keeping track of time during the course of the game. You're going to get some chips for placing wagers, as well as some wager chips in each player's colors. There's going to be 2 chips per player. Each player will get a dry erase board for writing down their answers to play out on the game board, dry erase markers, the game board itself, which is a nice felt board in the style of perhaps a betting board, would you say? Wits and Wagers is a wonderful twist on trivia games. It uses some neat mechanics to make it fresh and exciting. What's going to happen is you're going to go through a series of questions, 7 questions, over the course of the game. Each turn you're going to ask a question, and people are going to put their answers down on one of these dry erase boards that they have. So what's going to happen is one player is going to choose to be the starting player. They're going to ask a question. How many speaking roles were there in the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy? All of the questions are going to be based around numbers. Because what's going to happen is people are going to write down their answers and they're going to arrange them sequentially on this board. So I will write down a number. People will throw their answers down in the center of the table face down so that you can't see the answers. There will be a timer that is flipped after the question is answered, so there's actually a time element in terms of how quickly you have to be able to think of and write your answer down. Once the time runs out, all the answers will be flipped up and then arranged on this mat here. Now, depending on the number of people playing and the number of answers provided, they'll be arranged in a certain way on the board. If you have an even number of answers, you're going to actually skip placement on this center area of pays 2 to 1. And there's a good reason for that. Chris?
What we're trying to do is set up really a median answer and then sort of almost like standard deviations. And so I'm talking a little bit in math language here for the school librarians, but we can talk about how this aligns to the math curriculum, to looking at averages, to looking at laying numbers out. And so in this case, we would look at our larger answers of 12,000 and 12,000. We have 2 duplicate answers, so they're both going to go together. And then we have 3,156, 57, and 2. Now, even though we have an even number of answer boards, we have an odd number of actual answers because those go into the same answer slot. And so in this case, we've got the highest answers paying 4 to 1, then 3 to 1, 2 to 1 for the median answer, 3 to 1, and again 4 to 1. And so you're always going to have an equal number on either side of the median. And you do that by skipping the median if there are an even number of answers. Not answer boards, not players, but actual unduplicated answers.
So once all the answers are arranged on the board, you're going to flip your timer again, and everyone's going to have time to place their wagers. Now, as I indicated when we talked about the things that come inside the box, everyone's going to have 2 wager chips, and you're going to be able to use these wager chips to put down on one of the answers. Now, it may not necessarily be your answer. One of the nice twists about this is you're putting down, when you're first asked the question, the answer that you think may be the correct answer, but as you start to look at the different potentials and possibilities on the board, you're able to then start looking at what could possibly be a better answer based on what other people have put out there. So I can look and perhaps I put down 12,000, which is a ludicrously large number for the question that was asked, and I can say, you know what, a lot more of the numbers are focused down in this lower area, so perhaps it's going to be a smaller number than what I thought. Similar to The Price is Right, you want to try and hit the answer that gets the closest without actually going over. So if the answer was actually 155, then the correct answer would be 57 because 156 goes just 1 over. So as the timer's running out, you're going to place your 2 wager chips on one of the possible answers. You can split your wager chips, or you can put them both on one area.
Now, sometimes you may feel that the answer is smaller than any of the given answers. In this case, we have a 2, so we wouldn't use it here probably. But there is a pays 6 to 1 for smaller than the smallest guess. Now, I think it's below 57, but instead of going smaller than the smallest guess, I have to place it here on the 2. This can be a defensive way to make sure that if you're just not sure, you can put down 1 or 2 and still have a hope of getting some points if you think other people may go too high.
That always does seem to work in Price is Right, doesn't it? Each of these chips is going to be worth 100 points. So if you place a wager chip and you are correct, you're going to get paid back on those odds on the value of that chip being worth 100. So for the course of this, we're going to flip over and find out that the answer to this is 114 is the correct answer. So the green chip and the blue chip are going to pay out 3 to 1. So now, we have some betting chips for the next question. And so, when the next question gets asked, and you're going to place your wagers, you have then the option of placing not only a wager chip, but you can raise it up by placing some of these poker chips as well. So when you place, and it scores, you're going to get points, not only for the wager chip, which is worth 100, but any additional chips that you place as well.
Now, with this possibility for additional reward comes, of course, additional risk. You will always get back your wager chip, even though it has that value of 100. You will always get that back, whether you're right or wrong. If you're wrong, you will lose any additional chips that you choose to wager.
You will also get a healthy stack of game questions. Now, you're only actually going to be using 7 questions during the course of the game, so a stack this thick is going to last you for some time.
Now, we do have to say before we move on that this game does involve wagering. It has a board that looks a little bit like a gambling board. You've got poker chips, you've got the wagering mechanic. But we feel, even coming from school libraries, that the value of the questions and the value of the gameplay as a whole really outweigh any potential negativity from using this gambling mechanism. I also know that North Star Games is going to be coming out later on with a family-friendly version that removes the gambling mechanism but keeps all this other great interaction. So it's not focused on gambling or this type of so-called gaming. It is focused on the questions and the interaction between the players.